baie sterker as camel filters. So Lien is selfbewus by die skool na die incident die vorige dag, maar niemand toon reaksie nie. So she's self-conscious about what happened the previous day. Haar ma het dronk opgedag, so her mother showed up drunk. Sy kry vir Sally Swanepoel in die kleerkamer, sigaret in die hand en verwag die ergste. So she finds Sally Swanepoel in the break room, the cigarette in the hand, and she expects the worst. Sally erken onverwags dat haar eie pa ook baie drink en soms sterk goed rook. So she also admits that her father drinks as well and that he also smokes strong stuff. Dis nie onskuld nie, sê Sally. Sy kyk Lien vas in die oë en stap trots weg. So she tells Lien it's not their fault. She looks at Lien in the eyes and she walks away proudly. Tannie Bets laat weet Lien hulle moet daar kom eet na skool. So Tannie Bets tells them that they should come eat there after school. Kyfie wag in die sitkamer en sê hulle ma is vir so 3 tot 4 weke in 'n kliniek opgeneem. So he's waiting in the lounge of Tannie Bets' house to tell them that their mother is admitted in a program for 3 to 4 weeks. Tannie Bets gaan vir hulle sorg. So Tannie Bets is going to look after them while the mother's in the clinic. Hulle ma mag die eerste ruk nie besoekers of oproepe ontvang nie, so their mother's not allowed to get visitors or calls the first few weeks. Tibby sê ook, mense sal weet, dis nie haar skuld nie, dit sal verbygaan. So Tibby tells her, people are going to know it's not your fault and you're going to get through it. Dis stil by die woonstel van Bram is byna nooit daar nie. So it's quiet at the flat, Bram is nooit daar, hy's by Dion, so he's not there, he's always by Dion. Tannie Bets sê later dit gaan alright met haar ma. So Tannie Bets tells her, it's going okay, it's going good with her mother. Toe Tannie Bets nog later vir Lien hulle saam nooi kliniek toe, het Lien verskonings, want sy sien nie kans nie, so she says she's not up to it. So she makes excuses when Tannie Bets invites them to go visit their mother in the clinic. Tydens 'n repetisiebreek gesels sy met Hein. So during a break, she talks to Hein. Sy pa sê hy moet 'n prokureur word omdat hy self nie gestudeer het nie. So his father wants him to become a lawyer because his father himself did not study. Hein wil eerder bou of goed met sy hande maak. So Hein wants to build or he wants to make things with his hands. He likes to make. Hy hou om goed met sy hande te maak. So he likes to make things with his hands. Mimi se pa is in Cairo toe en sy nooi vir Lien om die naweek by haar te kuier. So Mimi's father's in Cairo and she invites Lien over to come stay for the weekend. Lien het eer verskonings, maar Mimi sê sy moet daaroor slaap. So she first has excuses. She doesn't say wil nie daaroor kom nie, but Mimi says she must sleep there. Lien droom van tweelingmaats Soemarie en Sanmarie agter 'n glas afkorting en hulle binne huise swembad. Sy het nie die moed om hulle te bel nie. So she thinks of her twin friends from her previous life, her previous school, Soemarie and Sanmarie. They were twins behind a glass in the inside swimming pool. Hoofstuk 20. Nuwe mense relax nou hier. Lien klim verlig op die bus met hulle ou woonbuurt se naam, nadat sy by die Karkies kantoorman op Kerkplein navraag gedoen het. So she done some research, now she's on the bus and she jumps in and she's going to their old neighborhood. Metertyd begin sy omgewing herken, hulle ou sentrum, kliniek, laerskool, biblioteek, die bakkery, die slaghuis. So she recognizes their old neighborhood, the center, the clinic, the primary school, the library, the bakery and the butchery. Sy onthou die snoek en die snoek sousie waarmee hy altyd gaste beïndruk het. So she calls him Hey. Hey is haar pa, so it's her father. So she remembers the snoek and the snoek sauce that he would always impress guests with. Daar het geboue en huise bygekom, so new buildings and houses have came up in the neighborhood. Daar klim 'n groepie skoolkinders in die bekende skooldrag op en Lien dink sy herken een van die meisies, maar haar pruik en uitrusting beskerm gelukkig haar eie anonimiteit. So her wig and her disguise protects her identity, so people don't know who she is, and these schoolgirls, the one she thinks she recognizes, they do not recognize her. Sy voel jaloers en klim naby hulle ouwe huis af. So she feels jealous and cynical and she jumps off at their old house. Sy kyk na die blonde Nina Groenewald se huis en skrik toe sy haar in die tuin sien. So she sees the old blonde Nina Groenewald, must have been a neighbor, by her house, and she gets a shock when she sees her in the garden. Sy bekyk hulle ouer huis van oorkant die straat, so she looks at their house, her old house, from across the street. Die wit muur om die huis is nou skelpink en daar is 'n nuwe posbus. So the house that had white walls before is now pink and it has a new postbox. Sy wens sy kan ingaan en wonder oor die ou bure, die Blakes en Smitte. So she wishes she'd go in and she wonders if her old neighbors, the Blakes and the Smiths, are still there. 'n Vrou en seun ry uit 'n groot wit BMW en Lien sien 'n glimp van die erf. Sy lei die klokkie by die hek en maak of iets kom aflewer. So she sees a woman and a boy jumping out of a big white BMW and she gets a glimpse of the garden. She rings the bell, sy lei die klokkie by die hek, so she rings the bell by the gate and she pretends as if she's coming. It's of aflewer, she pretends she's coming to drop off something. 'n Vrou in 'n uniform loer deur die luik en Lien sien 'n groot stuk van die tuin. So a woman in a uniform peeps through the gate and Lien sees a bigger piece of the garden. Lien se versoeke om die toilet te gebruik word geweier en die luik toegemaak. So the lady refuses, the lady in the uniform refuses for Lien to use the toilet. Sy maak asof sy wil toilet toe gaan. She makes as if she wants to go to the toilet and die vrou weier, so the lady refuses. Sy skree na Andrana en besef sy hoort nie meer hier nie. So she screams in tears and she realizes she does not belong there anymore. Cherry vir die koue. Okay, that's 21. Na die besoek aan hulle ouer huis, klim Lien voor die sentrum van die bus af om te gaan verkleed. So she, after her visit by their old house, she jumps off at the center so she can go change into her normal clothes. Sy gaan koop kos en verloof haar 'n bietjie meer as gewoonlik. So she goes to buy food for them and she spends a little bit more than she usually does. Sy ry deesdae en na die repetisies saam met Mimi hulle. So these days she goes with Mimi and them to the practices. Sy reën sopnat in die storm wat losbars toe sy by die sentrum verlaat. So when she leaves the center, she gets caught in a storm and she becomes soaking wet. 'n Motor hou stil en iemand skree dat sy moet inklim. Dis Hein en sy ouers. So a car stops and someone screams jump in. It's Hein and his parents. Sy ma is kort, ronde, vriendelik tannie wat aan een babbel. So his mother's a short, round, friendly lady that talks a lot. Sy pa lyk soos Hein met kort, dik nek, blonde krulhare en 'n groot neus. So Hein's father looks just like him. He is short, with a thick neck, blonde curly hair and a big nose. Okay, and then hulle is doodnormale mense. So Hein's parents are very normal people. Nie soos haar ouers nie. Not like her parents. Her parents are not so normal. Lien sê vir Mimi, sy sal die naweek kom kuier van Bram gaan na Dion toe. So she says for Mimi, she'll come and visit, she'll come and stay for the weekend because Bram is gone to Dion and them again. Bram sê hulle ma het gebel en kom dalk die einde van die week huis toe. So Bram, when she comes home, Bram says their mother phoned and she might come by the end of the week. Tibby is reg. Dis beter op straat in die winter, maar Roos bly koud kry. So Tibby's right, it's better begging on the street in winter, but Roos keeps getting cold. Lien is vir Roos se onthalwe bly toe die lente raak. So Mimi is happy on Roos's behalf that it's now spring, so she doesn't have to feel cold anymore. Ietsie met chocolade vir pudding. So Joe kom half verleen vir die naweek by Mimi in hulle huis teen die berg. So Joe comes and picks up Mimi for the weekend by their house in between the mountains. Joe is die bestuurder, Mimi se bestuurder, so it's the driver. Mimi hulle se reuse tuin het golvende grasperke en blauw zwembad met de beeldhouwwerken daarom. So Mimi and them have a very big garden with lush grass and a very blue swimming pool, and they have a housekeeper, like someone to work in the garden. Mimi's wit hondjie Patsy is haar sielgenoot. So Mimi's dog Patsy, her white dog, is her soulmate. Sielgenoot is soulmate. Hulle gaan op met 'n groot mammertrap verby huislike abstrakte skilderye na Mimi se luxe slaapkamer met haar eie elektroniese toestelle. So they go past and they see big extra paintings to Mimi's luxury bedroom. By Roberta is die chef. She's a chef. She cooks for them. Die goed opgeleide chef bestel Mimi sushi, hoender en chocolade nagereg. So by Roberta, the cook, she orders sushi, chicken and chocolate dessert. Mimi se rooikop ma sit met mineral water en kyk na TV kos demonstrasies. So she sits with mineral water. She watches the Red-Headed Mother. She watches the TV programs, food cooking programs. Sy is vriendelik, maar die meisies sien haar min. Hulle eet net saam by die tafel. So she's a nice person, but the girls see her less. They all just eat together at the table when it's eating time. Die meisies ontspan langs die swembad en geniet Roberta se vreemde smake en geure in die voorloop eetgoed en drinkgoed. So they're relaxing nicely together by the swimming pool, and they're enjoying her food and the drinks that she makes, that Roberta makes. Hulle kyk vir DVD flieks en gesels tot die oggendure in Mimi se groot bed. So they watch DVDs and they talk till the morning hours in Mimi's big bed. Mimi vertel van haar weird pa en sy modelvliegtuigen. So Mimi tells about her father and his model airplanes that he makes. Her weird father. Lien vertel aan haar ma in die kliniek. So Lien tells Mimi about her mother and about the clinic. Lien voel soos 'n celeb. Sy is weg van haar probleme. So Lien feels good. Sy voel goed. Sy voel soos 'n celeb. She feels good. She feels like a celeb because now she is away from her problems. 23. Die welcome home meeting. The welcome home meeting. So the welcome home mommy thing. Amar en broer Christine is terug uit die kliniek. So a thin and frail Christine comes out the clinic. Sy omhelps vir Lien en sê sy het verlang. So she hugs Lien and she says she misses Lien. Lien voel ongemaklik, teruggaan nie regtig terug nie en haas haar na haar werk. So Lien feels uncomfortable. She doesn't really hug her back and she rushes back to her work. Sy het nie lus om haar ma welkom te hê nie. Sy is te kwaad. So she doesn't feel like welcoming her mother. She's a bit angry. She's still angry with her mother. Te bereken die lewe het haar ouers geklap. Lien moet dit nie ook doen nie. So Tibby says life has clouded her parents and she must let it happen to her. Lien voel alleenig om haar arm swart motoris se almoes te aanvaar. So she feels doesn't feel good about accepting an obviously poor black couple's money. Lien proe wantrouig aan haar ma se koeldrankglas met goue vloeistof en verlig op die appeltyse. Sy voel skuldig toe haar ma haar dit sien doen. So she has a taste of this gold liquid in her mother's cup and she's appetizing, so she's relieved, but she feels guilty because her mother sees her doing that. Hein vra haar die aand op die pavilion vir die matriekafskeid en Lien erken sukkelend dat Wouter haar reeds gevra het. So Hein asks her to the matric dance as well, and she says struggling that Wouter has already asked her to the matric dance. Days sit haar ma en Bram dood normaal en gesels en hulle wag vir haar vir ete. So at home, Bram and the mother are sitting together. They're sitting and they're chatting and they're waiting for her for supper. Lien voel kwaad omdat haar man en Bram die afgelopen 2 jaar ignoreer, maar sê niks. So she feels irritated that her mother and Bram are ignoring everything that's happened in the last 2 years and they're just chatting normally. Aan die tafel vat hulle ma hulle hande en vra om verskoning dat sy dit so moeilik gemaak het vir hulle. So at the table, the mother holds their hands and she asks for forgiveness that she made the last 2 years so difficult for them. Bram reageer vergewingheid, maar Lien is steeds ongemaklik en kwaad vir haar ma en haarself. So Bram reacts in a forgiving way, but Lynn is uncomfortable and she's angry for her mother and she's angry at herself. Christine begin eers oor 'n paar dae werk. So Christine is starting work again in a few days. Lynn dink dat hulle gesin nou so oordrewe gaaf met mekaar is dat dit vals is. So she thinks now the way they're acting towards each other as a family, the way they're so nice to each other, is all false. Binnelandse Sake het geweet waar Christine was en die mediese fonds betaal haar behandeling. So at Home Affairs, at her job, department van Binnelandse Sake, hulle het geweet waar sy was. They knew where she was. Lien en Bram hou hulle ma met 'n val oog dop vir enige tekens van drankgebruik. So they looking at their mother, they keeping an eye on her for any signs of drinking. Hulle ma is baie onseker asof sy bang is sy doen iets verkeerd. So their mother's unsure, uncertain that she's going to do something wrong and she's going to mess up. Die toppie sonder baits. So this chapter is about Lynn's birthday supper. Dan die beets maak kos en Lynn maak die deur vir haar vriende Wouter en Mimi oop. Mimi se verduidelike swart toppie beklemtoon haar gebrek aan baits. So it's Lynn's 18th birthday. Tiny Bets is cooking. So Lynn opens the door for Wouter and Mimi. So she said Mimi and Wouter genooi. She invited Mimi and Wouter vir haar verjaarsdagete for her birthday supper. Mimi is wearing a sexy black top and it's emphasizing her chest without press. So she has flat chest. Lynn kry 'n CD by Mimi en later 'n present by Wouter. So Mimi gives Lynn a CD and later Wouter gives her a present as well. Bram en Christine is ook by Lynn se 18de verjaarsdag. So Bram and Christine are both there at this dinner, this 18th birthday dinner. Tannie Bets biedt eers wyn aan. So Tannie Bets first offers wine at the table and then she realizes her mistake and she pours for everyone Woolies juice. Almal gesels en lag en dit word vrolike aand om Tannie Bets se eetkamertafel. So everyone chats, everyone laughs and it becomes a jolly evening around Tannie Bets's table. Mimi trek 'n vroetel aan haar toppie, vat haar skaaf en Bram uit sy kassie. So Mimi is pulling away at her top, tugging her top. And selfs Christine lag nou en dan 'n regte laggie. So even now and then, Christine is laughing, a real laugh, not a fake laugh. So Lynn lê die aand tevrede in haar bed en kyk na die maan. So she lays at peace in her bed and she looks at the moon. Nora lewe kommentaar in haar kop. So Nora's lyrics are like a commentary in her head. They're talking to her in her head. Die videokyker kyk na die twee kinders by die vliegtuig verjaarsdag koek. Die dogtertjie skree oopmond as die seentjie sy vinger in die koek druk. So the whole movie, someone's watching the whole movie again. It shows the two children with the aeroplane birthday cake and the girl shouts out or cries out when the little boy sticks his finger in the cake. 25. Halfprys is halfprys. Margriet met haar armoedige rokke pedel aan die agterkant van die sentrum. So Margriet is another character there, nog 'n pedelaar. She, with her poor dress, she begs on the other side of the center. Sy vertel hulle van Spa se halfprys op baked beans and pilchards. So she tells them about the halfprys at Spa on baked beans and pilchards. Roos is gretig om die winskopie op te raap. Halfprys is halfprys. So Roos is eager to get this deal because halfprys is halfprys. Lynn en veral Toby volg traag nie meer lus vir die gebakte bone nie. So they also follow behind her because they also want to get this deal. Die drie pak 'n klomp blikkies in hulle mandjies, veral Roos. So the three of them pack a lot of tins in their baskets, especially Roos. Lien is onseker en sê dit gaan gewone prys, maar Roos reken die kennisgewings is nog net nie opgesit nie. So Lien's a bit unsure, but Roos says, okay, no, the notices for the half price are not put up yet. By die kasregister stop Roos die kassier en sê dis half price. So by the till, she stops the cashier and says it's half price. Roos word kwaad, verwys na hulle pamflet en laat roep die bestuurder wat sê toe nie wil glo nie. So she gets angry. She asks to call the manager, and the manager still doesn't believe it that it's half price. No, she doesn't. She says it's not half price. Roos dring aan op half price en die bestuurder swig en laat hulle die half price kry. So Roos is insisting now she wants it at half price. So the manager gives it to them at half price. Buite kry hulle vir Margriet en die pamflet en ontdek dat dit eintlik Checkers se pamflet was. So outside they find Margaret and they check nicely and it actually was Checkers' pamphlet, not Spa's pamphlet. Die Volvo met Sproet en Sproetjie kom elke dag verby. So the white Volvo comes with the little girl and her father, Sproet en Sproetjie, Freckles and little Freckles every day. Sproetjie sê sy gaan 'n boetie kry. Sproet gee weer baie geld wat Lien ongemaklik maak. So Sproetjie, the little girl, says she's going to get a brother, and Sproet, the man in the white Volvo, gives a lot of money again, and which makes Lien a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, hoofstuk 26. Cheers op binnelandse sake. Okay, Lien word stadig weet Maria en wonder soos sy oor die betekenis van dinge. So Lien is slowly becoming Weird Maria, and just like Weird Maria, she's wondering what is the meaning of everything. Sy kom tuis en tref haar maar weer aan die wyn drink uit 'n koffiebeker aan. So she comes home and she finds her mother drinking wine again out of a coffee mug. Christine giggel dat sy nie meer by binnelandse sake werk nie. So Christine is giggling that she's now no longer working at Department of Home Affairs. Lien wil gil en skree en huil. So Lien wants to scream and cry. Sy pluk die yskas en kas toe op en kry die weggesteekte wine. So she opens everything up, the cupboards, the fridge, and she finds the hidden wine. Sy sê welkom terug vir haar ma en skink vir haarself 'n groot koeldrankglas vol wyn en slaan alles met 'n toegetrekte neus op binnelandse sake se gesondheid. So she pours herself a glass, she tells her mother welcome home, she pours herself a glass of wine and she says cheers to Department of Home Affairs. Sy gooi alles dadelik in die toiletbak op, so she immediately vomits everything out in the toilet. Nora's sin en Lien se kop van stokkiesboot wat weggedryf terwyl die kaptein trots om te erken dat sy die rooi span verloor het. So she's listening to a song, a melody from Nora's her favorite singer. Toe Bram thuis kom, is sy ma al goed gekleter en huk sy en lag sy sommer oor sy grootvoete. So when he comes home, the mother's plastered, she's drunk with wine, and she's just laughing at everything, laughing at his big feet. Lien voel die volgende dagoggend asof sy nie meer omgee nie. So the next day, she feels like she doesn't care about anyone or anything anymore. Sy kan al vir 'n kaartjie Londen toe betaal en reken dis nou elkeen vir homself. So she can now pay for a ticket to London, and she's saying now it's now everyone for themselves. Lien en Bram kan net raai wat hulle ma se werk gebeur het. So Lien and Bram can actually just guess what has happened to their mother's job. They know she was probably drunk. Sy was miskien dronk. Vir 2 weke kuier Christine met die bokswyn in Paganini. Toe is daar niks oor nie. So for 2 weeks she's sitting with this box of wine and listening to these concerts of hers until there's nothing left. Lien versorg weer die gesin uit haar staargeld en Bram bly meestal by Dion en ander maats oor. So Lien sees to the house with her begging money and Bram doesn't want to stay at home, so he's staying by his friends and by Dion. Haar ma drink steeds met 'n dweleer besie en rekening. So the mother's still drinking with a empty purse and account. Lien het met die pinnommer gaan controleer. So Lien is controlling the pin number on the card. Lien sal die huur ook moet betaal, wat meeste van haar geld sal opslurp. So Lien now has to pay the rent as well, which is going to just take out all of her money. Die rol van Weer Maria word uitvlug 'n verlossing. So the role that she's playing in the play of Weird Maria becomes an escape for her. It becomes a solution for her from her problems. 'n maand na haar ma uit die kliniek gekom het, ontbied Tannie Beets Lien dringend van haar bedelhoek. Kyfie is ook by Tannie Beets en hulle vertel verlede Christine van winkeldiefstal van by Pick n Pay vorige is. So a month after Christine was out of the clinic, Tannie Beets quickly calls her urgently out of her corner and says their mother was caught for shoplifting wine by Pick n Pay. Kyfie Gerard het Christine klaar terug in die kliniek bespreek, so the pastor or the priest already booked her back into the clinic. Die kinders wil nie by oom Frank en Tannie Poppy gaan bly, soos Tannie Beets voorstel nie. So she doesn't want to go, they don't want to go stay by Tannie Beets and their uncle and their auntie and Tannie Poppy, just like Tannie Beets suggested. Lien sê sy het genoeg spaargeld vir hier en alles. So Lien sê she has enough spare change for rent and everything. Uiteindelik kom hulle ooreen dat Tannie Beets aandetes en skoolbrood sal verskaf en hulle wasgoed sal doen. So at the end, they come to a conclusion that Tannie Beets will make their school lunch and their school bread and do their washing. Lien verwonder haar aan almal se ongemak en verleentheid. So she's wondering why everyone is so embarrassed. Kyfie sal gaan hoor van moontlike pensioene van Christine by Binnelandse Sake. So the priest is going to go hear about the possibility of her pension money, Christine's pension money from Department of Home Affairs. Lien is woedend en kan net aan ver weg gaan dink. Sy beplan om in skooltyd ook te gaan bedel. So she's angry, she's upset, she only thinks of going away now and she's thinking of going to beg in class time. Okay, hoofstuk 27. Christian, die klasleier, is gekies volgens die democratische stemstelsel. So Christian, the class clown, is now picked as the class leader by democratic agreement of the class. Hy moet Vrydag die doktersbriewe en sulke goed indien. So on Fridays he must give in the sick notes and the doctor's notes in to the teachers. Meneer Molle, die vooronderwyser, se kop is by sy eerste rugbyspan wat belangrike wedstryd speel. So meneer Molle, the form teacher, his head is elsewhere. It's by the rugby team, which is important, and they're playing an important match. Die situasie is nou tot Lien se voordeel. Sy wil probeer afwesig wees sonder dat dit aandag trek. So she tries to be absent from school without drawing too much attention to herself. Lien gaan tik voor skool kamer afwesigheidsbriewe namens haar ma. Lien gaan soms soggens met 'n beseerde nek na fisio afsprake. Lien krap ook vir Jooster ondernaam. So Lien types letters in the absence of her mother, and she's saying she's visiting a physio for a neck injury. She also makes her own signature of her mother's. Lien droom nie meer van onderskeidings nie en wil net deurkom omdat nie veroorsaak gaan saak maak nie. So she doesn't dream about distinctions anymore. She just wants to pass so she can go overseas. Sy besluit om eers die afwesigheidsbrief vir Christian te gee as hy vra. So she decides only to give the absentee note to Christian if he asks. Vir Wouter sê Lien sy gaan vroegoggend in die pub werk. Hy moenie vir haar wag nie. So Wouter says So Wouter says she mustn't wait for him. He's going to go work somewhere in the morning. Die eerste Dinsdagoggend op straat voel sy selfbewus, ongehaak haar swaarde grimmering. So she feels the first morning during school hours, she feels a little bit self-conscious because she's wearing heavy makeup as well, I think. Dis 'n lang, warm dag waarin sy nat gesweet en stokflou voel en sy weet nie hoe Roos en Tippy dit elke dag nie. So it's a hot day, she's sweating and she's feeling tired and she's wondering how do Tippy and Roos do this daily. Sy maak egter meer dubbeld soveel as in die middag. Dis 10.000 mikpunt lyk moontlik vorentoe. Al sal sy ook die woonstel hier moet betaal. Dalk sal haar ma se pensioengeld van 20.000 aan rekening kan instaan. So she makes double the money and she thinks, okay, now there is a possibility of making this 10,000 to pay for a ticket, and maybe her mother's, but although she still has to pay the rent, but now maybe her mother's pension account will cover the 20,000 that must be in her account. Yes, play sê net Dinsdae en Donderdae uit die skool en niemand sê iets nie. So she only stays away from school Tuesdays and Thursdays and no one says anything. Teen week 3 vra Christian haar daarna en wys die brief, maar hy sê dit moet 'n dokterbrief wees. So she shows Christian the note and he says to her, no, this must be actually a doctor's note. It mustn't just be a normal typed note, it must be a doctor's note. Lien sê haar dokter is 'n paar weke in Paul. Christine vra 'n brief van die physios en Lien vra skree kwaad of hy dink sy lieg. So Lien says her doctor's in Paul, so he can't write it. Now he says he wants a letter from the physio. And she shouts at him saying, does he not trust her? Does he think she is lying? Verboureerd gee Christian in en sê hy sal vir Oumale sê dat dit 'n doktersbrief is. So he gives up and he says he's going to tell the form teacher that it is a doctor's letter.